tonight? You're going to control that?
Should we give it a couple minutes for him? All right, so
I would think we might as well get going.
then. Okay, welcome to the planning board meeting. Oh, let me just check to make sure they are okay. I can hear it. Welcome to the planning board meeting for Wednesday, July 28th, 2021. This meeting is being televised by Chelmsford Telemedia and is being conducted in person in room 204 of the town offices and via Zoom. We will continue with Zoom links for the public until further notice. The call into the meeting number is 929-205-6099. I don't think we'll have anyone calling in tonight. First up, administrative review, 99 Littleton Road. For property located 99 Littleton Road, request a special permit per section 195-21F and/or 195-104 to site plan review for the construction, expansion of a new parking lot, area 195-1043, for grading or clearing more than 10% of a lot and any other zoning relief that is deemed necessary. The site is located in RB residential district and consists of approximately 2.968 acres as shown on Assessors Map 83-320-37. Okay, Evan. What?
You got a draft decision in front of you. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Facts are pretty straightforward. In this particular case, the decision
Set right there.
as drafted indicates that the board found
next
that
week's.
the project met the
Yeah, but this-
objectives of the applicable site plan and special permit. The board voted to grant these special permits at your last meeting via 6-1 vote. You just have a fairly boilerplate decision in front of you. I'll just draw your attention to the two special conditions. First one is per the DPW letter, and the second one codifies the agreement for the rollover arborvitae's. So in this particular case, because the plan didn't show them and there wasn't any specific location identified, the condition requires the applicant to meet with the property owner of 72 Bridge Street to work out where those will be located and show them on the final plan prior to endorsement.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, I do. It's not a question, it's a suggestion, and that is on fact number 3. I would suggest to modify it to say the property has been and is currently used by an asphalt paving company, and append that with, for a vehicle maintenance facility, or as a vehicle maintenance facility.
Including, how about including a vehicle maintenance?
No, it is a vehicle maintenance.
separate
Yeah, the point
business?
is, this is not, they're not mixing paving here, they're not doing paving from here, they're using it.
Contractor yard.
It's a contract yard.
It's not even that, it's a maintenance.
Yeah, and for that,
It's a
you really
maintenance
need
site.
turnaround, really.
And
but-
the reason I say that is that that's actually what the grandfathered use is as a maintenance facility, not as a paving company.
Right.
So the fact that it's a paving company is irrelevant. The use that they have there is as a vehicle maintenance facility.
That makes sense.
Makes sense.
Okay. Deidre, I see you on Zoom. Do you have anything? Drive safely, please.
Okay.
No, okay.
Can't hear her.
Anybody else with anything? Okay.
Well, I'll give you a motion to accept the decision as written, subject to the one modification that Nan made.
Second by?
I'll second that.
Second by Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All right, unanimous, 7. Okay, next up, 200 Turnpike Road. It's the request a special permit per section 195-5, use regulations and attachment 1, use table to operate a 2,800 square foot doggy daycare, commercial kennel, as a special permit per section 195-18, to reduce parking in section 195-144, to reduce buffer strips and any other zone of relief that is deemed necessary. The site is located in the IA Limited Industrial District and consists of approximately 3.85 acres, as shown on the Assessor's Map 106-328-5. So, Deidre, we discussed this. We sent in to Evan, Deidre, myself, Mike, and Henry. I think
Do we have him here?
we were all three on the same page, pretty much, right? Evan all four were the same. So how do we go about then?
So, so what you have in front of you is the same documents you had in front of you at the last meeting, my initial draft, and then Nancy Arroway's more detailed comments. As Tim indicated, Deidre did submit via email her comments. They were more of opinion. Tim did that today as well. So it's clear to me that the members who voted to deny the special permit all seem to share similar opinions or positions as to why. The goal this evening, as part of drafting your decision, is for those, in particular, those four members, to attempt to put some detail to justify or explain via facts and findings to the best of your ability based upon the public record. So the special permits are for the use. So I think the board is aware as to what types of criteria may be reviewed that result in adverse or negative impacts associated with the use. And then there were two special permits in addition to the use: reduced parking and reduced buffers. So as voted, it appears as though the board voted to deny all special permits, meaning all three separate special permits. So as I mentioned, the task in drafting a decision is to try to have one that supports facts and findings that support the decision to deny. That level of detail related to the facts and findings can be as granular as the board wants it to be, again, based upon the public record. And as we discussed, the board had a fairly quick discussion at the last meeting. Some of the major items related to noise, the board may determine that it was inconclusive. So you're not necessarily, all of the testimony doesn't necessarily require definitive facts and findings. It's based upon the record and what the board did within that public hearing. And so that's why I think to date, noise appears to be more of an opinion at this point. Traffic also may be more of an opinion, meaning the board didn't have a peer review traffic. It appears as though the noise studies were conflicting one another. So my point is that this type of decision where we don't necessarily have definitive peer review experts in which the board clearly agreed or disagreed, you're relying on less conclusive facts and more about experience as a board member. I think we can attempt to workshop it and see what floats to the top. But my advice is the board should attempt individually and collectively, particularly those four members who voted to deny, to try to come up with some statements that support your general positions. How is it adverse? What makes it adverse? And again, the special permits are reduced parking, reduced buffering, and then the special permit for the use.
Okay. Did you get, Mike, do you have anything to add to that? I don't know if Henry did either.
No, the only thing that I was going to add, and I did not get my comments to Evan, was I'm not going to debate this again and go back and forth.
Yeah, I
I don't
don't-
think it's an opportunity for that. The decision has been made.
Right.
But the issue is there was two conflicting noise decibel reports. And unless we have to make a decision on what we have, the facts in front of us, unless we're going to hire an independent person, which we don't.
Which we can't do at this point.
We don't do that.
You could have.
But we didn't do that.
Yeah.
We didn't do that. So we had to make that decision. on it.
Exactly.
And I think my criteria, that's why when I asked last week, who reviews the videos? Because my impression is, we make our decisions at the time, okay? And this has been dragging on now, and I think the staff reviews it and makes the decision based off of the video.
If it's conclusive, so.
But that night, we spoke about the
Noise.
facts.
Yeah.
And we spoke about the criteria. I mean, they're asking for a special permit under 195-103. And under B, which you have classified in here.
Yep.
We felt, especially I felt, it did not meet the criteria that was beneficial to the neighborhood.
Agreed. So,
Okay.
agreed.
That was
So
the four of us.
So that's
I
very
think.
clear in here, and that's.
That's the
that was-
baseline.
That's the baseline.
Right.
And to that neighborhood. I mean, and then we talked about the character, then you went down through 1, 2, 3, all the way down to 6, the different items that are in that bylaw. And we could look at each one individually, but I think you've got to, I think that's the basis of the entire denial, at least from my facts.
I think all of us
I
are
I
on board
agree,
with
as
that.
drafted, it's a framework with the bare minimum. It codifies the highest level discussion that took place as part of the vote.
Right.
Ideally, when you draft the decision and it's recorded and it's your formal legal document codifying your denial, 1 through 6 have something specific to how is it not beneficial to the socioeconomic or community need? How is it negative impacts related to traffic flow, safety, including parking and loading? So right now, I think those 4 members are all in unison that it was not beneficial and it is detrimental. If the board chooses to, the next layer would be to add some of that detail, some of that meat to further justify or explain.
Do we need to at this point, I mean, from listening to the testimony, the 4 of us voted no for the specific reasons on that date, and I'm sure you guys went back to watch the video, right, to put this into the decision like you typically do. I mean, our reasons are pretty clear. I don't know, Mike, do you feel comfortable with where we're at? I mean, all 4 of us were the same.
But no, I do, I just don't, and I think I understand what Evan wants to solidify it a little bit
Yeah.
more, why, right?
Yeah.
But I just don't know what the intent is.
So
Is the intent is to prevent this to be overturned in court?
So, as you know, from experience, the decisions that staff drafts and the board out to something that's very detailed with very specific facts and findings. And from my perspective, the decisions normally relate to either the amount of board interest or public interest or a combination of both. Ultimately, the decisions need to be drafted where there's sensitivity, and a denial, obviously, but by definition, is sensitive, because you just don't know to what level an appeal may take place. You want to draft a decision that is legally defensible. In the event, my understanding is that if you do the bare minimum, the baseline, and it goes to appeal, the courts will look for a detailed written record, meaning a decision that justifies the denial. Where a decision lacks that level of detail is very often where, again, assuming an appeal, the judge, the court system, at best would remand it back to the board and require more detail to justify a denial. In worst case, may feel as though the decision was completely,
Arbitrary and capricious.
or, devoid
Wording.
of any detail justifying its decision. So while the video is important to us and helps us remember what took place over an extended period of time, the video is not part of the written record, it's not part of your decision.
Right,
Meaning the board couldn't simply
So-
say, see minute, hour and 15
Yeah,
minutes.
no worries. So we should
I'm with
probably
you.
give you some samples. So, for example, from when the expert talked about the excessive dog barking, the noise being a nuisance to the neighborhood, I mean, is that something you're looking for to put in there? That was,
Yes, again, if those four members feel as though that there will be excessive dog barking and it is not or was not adequately mitigated, that's something that would provide more detail related to noise.
Henry, we're obviously going over 200 Turnpike.
Yeah.
The four of us, Mike, you, myself,
Yeah.
Deidre. We basically have all are at the same point, you know. He wanted a little more detail. We're at the bare minimum right now. Deidre, do you have, I don't know where she is. Deidre, you on there?
195, 103.
I'm here, sorry. I'm driving cross country, so my reception's kind of
Oh, good for
uh,
you. Well,
in
thank
and out
you.
of it.
Thank you for
Just
still
a
getting
minute.
on here. So as you could probably hear, what Evan said,
It's in here. That's in here.
I'm going to go around, and if there's something you'd
105,
like to add,
Yeah, I think that's basically what you gotta hang your hat
He
on.
wants to expand those. Why? Why?
Anywhere, Henry, anywhere we can add more detail to the general statement. So an example, Tim just mentioned, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what I've written down is excessive dog barking not adequately mitigated. I think,
Yeah,
I think,
I would agree that the excessive dog barking is one of my, and excessive noise created by the dog barking is one of my main concerns regarding the detrimental impact or the lack of positive impact on the neighborhood. I also was unconvinced of the factual nature of that the parking, I have concerns about the parking being adequate for the drop-off and pickup. And I also have concerns that, in my opinion, the traffic is significant. Though, other people didn't share that opinion.
I also agreed with Deidre on that, on the traffic, and they were also looking for a reduced parking, which didn't agree with.
On number 3, though, I don't think there was an issue with adequacy of utilities and other public services.
Adequacy, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that, Mike.
Well, it just lists out all 6, Evan, so I don't know, I don't think we had an issue with that.
yeah, so number 3, we can probably put like not
But
applicable and not
Number
of concern.
4, the neighborhood character
not
and
a
social structures, I mean, that was a big issue. The character of the neighborhood.
Can-
And what it's used today, what it is today versus, yes, I understand it's IA, but it's right on the edge of the IA, and it's residential neighborhood.
But it's still IA.
It is still IA.
But
It's
it's,
IA.
It requires a special permit.
Yeah.
With a special
Right.
permit.
So if I understand, you're basically saying it's on the edge of IA, and due to excessive noise, concerns about drop-off, concerns about traffic, and concerns about reduced parking, because of the proximity, it's direct,
Yes.
it's across the street from,
Residential homes.
all right.
Single family.
Correct.
So proximity,
And what things I also mentioned in our deliberation that was concerning to me is the proximity of the noise to the home for disabled adults.
That was never,
just across the street.
that was never an issue, was it? Was that
I don't know if
discussed?
that was specific, but clearly there was discussion about residential directly across the street, close
The
proximity.
general,
Yeah.
yes, but I'm thinking that using that as a specific
no-
fact, I think would be hard to back up.
It wasn't, I don't remember it ever being discussed as part of the
Me neither.
evaluation.
I brought it up in the deliberation. It's the last thing I said. But, I mean, it wasn't, no one else
Okay.
ran with it. That was one of my concerns.
Decision.
So what is the factual basis of determining that it's excessive noise?
Well, I mean, I know you want this. I know we're trying to make, this is going far beyond what we've ever done
Yep.
for this. And to be honestly, I think this should be 95, 103, special permit. And, you know, I think you're getting more depth and detail that needs to be done. I mean, anything we can do adds to it.
Which I think we've done.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, sometimes you're giving it too
Agreed,
much.
agreed, and we talked about noise.
Yeah.
Noise may not be
true.
the primary factual, data-driven element within this decision.
I mean, basically, special permits are
Not here to
special
debate the
permits.
decision either.
Right,
yeah.
It's done.
Right.
It's done. I get that.
We're trying to.
I'm just wondering, what's the fact that we put in here that says it's excessive noise?
Well, you already know, because we already discussed it. If you don't, you can look back in the video, but I don't want to keep bringing
Well,
it up.
I think we mentioned at the beginning, there's two different opinions, and at that point, we're taking in our own opinion of being on the board at that point. 'Cause
Did you
had
read those two reports and understand those two
We're
reports?
not going to debate
not
it
gonna
now,
debate
guys.
it,
Guys,
Nancy.
we're not going to debate
just
it.
asking.
Again, we're not going to debate it.
If we come to this again, something like this, then maybe we
All
should hire
right,
a
so
third
Evan,
party.
honestly, I think we've given you
Yeah,
enough.
so what I would like to do is. I
Like
think-
Henry said,
Yeah.
I don't remember this much. on a-
Agreed.
So-
I think you've, this has been helpful for me. My suggestion is, we have some more time. Let me revise this per our discussion this evening. I'll then get it back in front of the board at your next meeting. And if the majority of the board is comfortable, you'll be able to ratify that draft decision. So just in summary, I think what I picked up on this evening is that the difference between, or the reason this has risen to a higher concern is that it's at the edge of the IA,
Yeah.
which creates extreme proximity to the adjacent residential.
I
which
think
then-
that's the key.
Which then heightens noise, drop-off, traffic, reduced parking.
Yeah,
It comes down to the location in relation to the district and proximity to residential.
Evan, where is the decision on this?
Exactly.
No, where is it on here?
What do you mean?
The actual
Oh,
vote.
I
hasn't made it
haven't
yet.
codified that yet.
Oh, you have not, okay.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah,
he's doing
yeah.
right now. That's what he wants us to.
No, I'm talking about
The actual vote, the
It was
motion.
4-3, and
Yes.
the names who, I don't see that on.
I will,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will put that in there.
All right.
Yep.
All
Okay,
right.
so.
And I'd like to just get it resolved, just put
Yeah.
this in the bed.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think this gets us to the level of, an adequate level of detail without, based upon what took place in the hearing. And some of the items weren't data conclusive one way or the other, but the board members do have the discretion within the special permit to apply their expertise and opinion, and that appears to be what you're doing.
okay.
All right, so I will update the draft and get it back to you for your next regular meeting.
Thank you, Evan.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. Next up, new business. Submission checklist and review the draft. These, by the way, these plans in front of you are for the next meeting, just so you know. And also the minutes we have in our packet will
the
not
table.
be tonight. We'll be doing that next meeting as well.
Okay.
So we got a couple of other items and then, well, it looks like an early night. Hallelujah.
So, per the work session, I did submit a draft of submission requirements. So it's basically in three sections. The first is kind of the application and submission requirements per your site plan, special permit rules and regulations. Filing fees, civil plans, architectural floor plans, lighting, plans in detail, stormwater report, cut and fill calcs, traffic study as applicable, list of waivers from regs, and a list of special permits, waivers from zoning. Then the letters that the board expects to see, the interdepartmental review, DPW engineering, the applicable water district, Board of Health, Police, Fire Prevention, Building, Conservation, and Community Development. And then the last section is a list of other town committees and boards. Historical Commission, Housing Advisory Board as applicable, Bicycle, Pedestrian, and Advisory Committee. And I listed Tree Committee, Center Village, and North Village. And that's something that the board can discuss. Whether you feel as though, those other committees should be part of your, or at least be requested to provide
Wasn't
comment.
there something about the disables? We were talking about
Disability.
disability supposed to be in there?
Yeah.
So the intent is when a new project comes forward, that we go down this checklist of what we're expecting to be delivered to us.
Well, this checklist should be given to the applicant.
We can do both.
Oh, it is, but we can then say what we feel is
You
important, that
can
we
do
want to
both,
see it.
yeah, you could do it, so at a minimum, we'd give it to the applicant, and then if the board wants, we can give it out individually, and you can each have your own individual checklist, or maybe the board wants to designate a particular member for each project to kind of keep the checklist.
I think it might help to make this available to applicants, but before we give it to them, you guys should probably give it a fast review and mark as not applicable. I mean, I don't want some guy that's got a bare lot with nothing on it to be worrying about the Historic Commission and the Tree Committee. But so we should but they may not know this, so you may want to, give it to them with a bunch of NAs written in as appropriate.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty obvious.
Staff can apply some initial.
Yeah, some judgment there.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have anything on that? Deidre, do you have anything on the checklist?
I think that, it sounds like a good plan. What I would love to do is just start using it, and then it can be a evolving
Yeah.
document. If we find things we want to use in a slightly different way or not use anymore because it's not helpful, then fine, we can change it.
Okay.
I'd like to just have something that we start using and then start using it and work, see how it goes.
It depends.
Okay, I think that's the plan, too, so, okay,
Okay.
excellent.
I would be.
Do you guys have anything else? Mike, Henry?
Nothing
Anything
about
else?
the COID, whether we should be doing the count and how much they can take and
What's that term?
legally take and do.
The pilot?
No.
No.
When the last couple applicants.
Oh, the proof plan.
Proof plan.
Oh, yeah,
Plan.
yeah.
So the proof plan to date is only applicable to the Center Village overlay.
Right.
Yeah.
The Center Village overlay bylaw is written differently than the COID. So to date, the
That's
proof
right.
plan has not come up as part of COID,
Yeah.
Just Center Village.
just Center Village overlay.
But
So we could put that down here too, as,
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
but it may be my ignorance, but I don't understand, I asked about this in a previous, I don't know, at least meeting, and then again in the list for the work sessions. I don't know where to find that criteria for a proof plan.
It's a good question. You won't find it anywhere in the bylaw because the bylaw didn't contemplate it. The way this evolved was, as the board gained experience using the bylaw, it dawned on the planning board that in order for the board to do applicability, it needed a proof plan. And the term proof plan has been somewhat defined by a legal memo from council to the board. So I think the concept is kind of set in stone at this point, and it's more of a policy addendum that the board has created in order to administer the bylaw so that it makes sense to use. So that has not been a problem for applicants moving forward. The board certainly could go back to town meeting and codify it into the zoning bylaw if you wanted to. The other option is to continue as kind of a working policy. Third option is to insert it into your rules and regs.
The only thing the other thing that I would ask is, like, looking back at the Littleton Road project, by right, they were allowed X and Y. We want to know exactly what they were allowed by right. Not that you have to have a
Yeah, so-
approved plan or anything else, but that's,
So, it's a good discussion. So to date, when it comes to COID, 104 Turnpike, 241 Littleton, the methodology that applicants have used and the board has also used, I'm not saying agreed to, but the methodology to determine how many units has been based upon FAR. So the FAR determines what the total square footage any one property can have. And so let's take 241 Littleton, it's a 1 acre CB site. And ultimately, it had 21 bedrooms, I think. So the what the applicant did and what the board used for methodology was the FAR was no more than, 25,000 square feet on a 40,000 square foot lot. And then the applicant came to the board and said, I'm complying with FAR, and within my allotted 25,000 square feet, I want to build 21 bedrooms with hallways and miscellaneous, utility closets. It doesn't exceed the total FAR allowed.
Similar to what we did on 9 Acton Road, right? We requested, I think, the developer to,
Well, nine Acton's using the proof plan.
okay.
It's using the proof. So both overlays are using some methodology to determine total number of either units or square footage. But that's the difference. Well, the Center Village is using a methodology to determine total number of units, because the bylaw, the overlay is very specific. It talks about no more than 3 units in one building, right? No more than 8 per project. The COID is completely silent. It's not as detailed, but it does regulate FAR. So that's been the methodology used to date.
all I would say is to have it on the checklist for
Yeah,
the.
makes sense.
For the applicant to realize when they come in, that's one of the things we will be
Yes.
looking for.
Makes sense, yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think it's a big deal, but I just think when we get in here, that's one of the questions we do ask. What are you allowed by right and what are you
Yeah.
looking for?
Okay. Does anyone else have anything for the checklist? Anything else for Evan on that matter? All right, so I think we can move on from that, Evan.
Yep.
Master plan review and schedule.
So this is just a standing agenda item. As you recall, a couple of meetings ago, George Zaharoulis, Chair of the Master Planning Committee, presented to you, and they're still meeting, they're wrapping up, but he asked the board as individuals to either review and start sending comments his way to the committee, or that the planning board meet collectively. He even suggested maybe a joint meeting between the two boards. I think his message is that his committee is a subcommittee of the planning board. And per state statute, the master plan is the planning board's sole responsibility. So his committee's wrapping up. The drafts of each chapter are on the link. I can forward the link out again. They're essentially, 95+% complete.
We schedule maybe at our work session, maybe having them come in, like,
Well, George.
He can come in, but I think the only way that work session works is if the individual members of the planning board have have reviewed those chapters and have, so that's why I think he was suggesting
Okay.
initially out of the gate, it may be better
review
as
it
an
and-
individual.
Yeah,
I
it's
just
not- it's
put
not
this-
going to help at the high level. You really
Yeah.
need to go
Evan, can
through
you send a link?
And actually read it.
and read it and put your questions together. And then you can have a meaningful discussion, but.
Can I suggest that maybe what we ought to, it's a pretty daunting piece of stuff. It's a couple hundred pages.
More than that.
Can you
Yeah,
do a
well-
cheat sheet for us?
No.
Yeah, there ain't no,
This is massive,
Cliff's notes.
massive
Let me
massive
clear that up.
amounts
It was
of
actually a
data.
joke.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, but what I'm thinking is it might make it easier for us if we were to say, all right, this week we're going to look at chapters 1, 2, and 3.
Chapter 1.
Or maybe even just chapter 1.
Can do.
And kind of go through it chunk by chunk rather than throwing it out to everybody as here, go read it and then we'll talk about it.
I'm fine with that.
And might I suggest that, that perhaps we make, as a trial, make this one of the subjects of our next work session, and that we all agree on how many chapters to read, and then we can have a discussion. And, if we all read it and say, that looks fine, we love it,
She's saying one over there, so I'm guaranteeing just one. I know you could probably do it all, but
sounds
Nancy's
good to
saying
me.
one.
well, yeah, let's do one
If I
and see
go in
how
there
it
first.
goes,
See what happens.
and,
Agreed?
but we've got to get rolling here.
Okay. So do you want to, should we be looking to read one now? for
Yeah,
our
why don't we
next
say,
meeting?
for our next work session, we will read chapter 1.
Okay.
What's it, do you?
I don't know if we have numbers, do we?
They do. I don't know what chapter 1 is. Why don't we pick a topic?
That's
maybe
what I'm
an
Well,
issue.
thinking.
is there, I don't recall it had a specific
getting scared.
general
How about
introductory
transportation? Are we-
Transport, okay.
Is that one ready?
Kind of interesting.
How about transportation?
So is the goal in that, like, accept the master plan, right? So they're done, the planning board
Review.
accepts,
When it's
reviews it,
issued,
accepts it.
we
and then
issue it,
do-
yeah.
we take it then to town meeting?
No,
Oh, no.
no, we just
So
issue it.
So the bare minimum is that the planning board has to adopt it.
Yep.
In the past, as part of the adoption process, a presentation has been made to the select board and an update to town meeting.
Okay.
And this board can discuss, whether you want to do that after adoption or prior to adoption. This board can also discuss whether you want to rely entirely on the subcommittee's process, or if you feel as though it warrants additional process, public engagement, so to speak. But once you start reading the chapters, you'll get a sense for the flavor. And out of the gate, I would say the committee viewed this as an update. They did not make any, as drafted, it does not make any bold statements. It doesn't make any bold proposals. I'll give you a very specific example. While the committee discussed at length about the overlays, what was good, what wasn't good, the public sentiment of the overlays and the projects that have been proposed and approved and built, the subcommittee as drafted basically says that the planning board should review the overlays and determine whether they still meet the original intent and goals and revise accordingly. So that's a really good example where the subcommittee viewed it as an update. Unlike the 2010 master plan, which did make very bold statements and very bold recommendations. So the flavor of this update is a bit different. And that's where the planning board, as part of your approval process, is going to have to either agree with it as drafted, or maybe there are areas in which the majority of the planning board wants to be a bit more definitive and draw lines in the sand or make definitive statements.
I will say, here and there, you will find things that amount to considerable increases in detail on particular small subjects. For example, and I'll give just one example, in the open space section, we've rather expanded some of the discussion of agriculture. The transportation chapter, things have happened in the world of transportation. That's probably a good one to start with, because there's actually a good bit more information in it. A lot of these chapters are, a bunch of pages of data and information, which don't draw conclusions by themselves. And then at the end of the chapter, you'll see the list of suggested points. You can probably, if you're not particularly interested in very detailed numbers, for example, on how many people are living in housing of this particular sort, you could probably read it fairly quickly. But then you get to the end of the conclusions and the points, and that's the stuff I think to concentrate on. That makes sense to you?
Yeah,
I
but
think so.
I'd have to say that you really do need to read the data and absorb it. And the data is probably 75% or more of these chapters, in order to be able to evaluate the recommendations at the end, the discussions and recommendations at the end of it. Because if you don't have that data, those recommendations are,
Some of them, at least. won't
out
make
in
any
space.
sense. Yeah. But I think a lot of them are pretty clear by themselves, too.
Yeah.
It's going to vary.
It varies.
One more joke, I wish we had it on audio, that would be
Yeah.
good. Maybe you can read it, and we could
could read
start
it
selling
for-
it. That could
Can we get somebody with a nice British
Tim, you're
accent that
cute.
can sound that much more formal?
That sounds like fun, so we're gonna read a chapter, transportation.
Transport, okay. Transportation it
That's what
is.
you guys agreed to?
Thanks.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
If we're gonna do this, are we doing this at the next work session?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we had decided on a couple other things too.
Yeah, we're gonna go over that, after this.
Okay.
But do you have anything more on the master plan review of the schedule, Deidre?
Well, I was gonna say, it seems like, if we're gonna think about doing a presentation at town meeting, then we probably need to chew off more than one chapter at a work session. But I guess it depends how we wanna prioritize this vis-à-vis the other things.
Well, why don't we take one chapter and figure out exactly what we're going to do? I'm
Okay.
also hoping that after this, we can start biting off 2 and 3.
Okay.
Okay, perfect.
I mean, this is sort of a bore cleaning exercise.
All right, thank you. Itemized list of topics.
Well, why don't we, do you want to attempt to schedule the next work
Yeah,
session?
that'd be great.
So your next regular meeting is the 11th, and then the second in August would be the 25th.
My phone.
So do you want to try to do a work session on August 18th?
I'm game.
Okay,
What if we do it on the 4th?
Could-
Yeah, I'm gonna be away on the second date, the other date, the 18th.
18th, I might be away too.
Want
yeah.
to do the 4th?
All right, 4th it is.
What time do you want to start?
6:30, I'd suggest.
6:30,
I might be late
Okay,
for that
that's
if it's
fine.
6:30.
no problem.
Okay.
6:30, everyone? You okay?
So topics are master plan transportation section. And then what else? We were going to do the draft clawback on the PILO.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you want to try to get Kelly Beatty in? And if not Kelly Beatty, what's the third topic?
Do you want to try to get Kelly, and then if, do you want to have
I
an
think
extra topic?
Christina was going to present her.
Christina was, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's important. to
Yeah,
get
so
that
that's
on
time
there.
sensitive.
That's a lot more important
Yep,
than
yep,
Kelly to get that.
yep.
Okay,
That's a full meeting.
Yeah, that'll keep us off the
Okay.
streets and out of
all right,
trouble.
excellent.
Yeah, that'll
So,
be.
August 4th, 6:30 for the next work session. Next up, outdoor dining.
That's just a carryover from the last meeting. The board indicated that you would continue to think about it, and we can,
How does the building inspector and that feel about it, just out of curiosity?
we can ask them.
I mean, because there's a reason why the outdoor seating was allowed, right? And then now, we've taken up a ton of parking and everything else, right, to allow them to do this, to get by, because they couldn't have as many people in there. Not that I'm against it, but I'm just asking, like, how do they feel about it?
I honestly feel that we should, and this is only my opinion.
Yeah, I'd like to hear it.
Around. My honest opinion is they're allowed if they come in and see us for a special permit. And I think we could take it case by case. And if there's only 10 restaurants in the town, I think it's better to take 10 restaurants case by case than it is to go to town meeting.
Hey, a question on that. That's gonna whack on what, a couple $100 a permit?
Yeah, there's a
Yeah, but it
filing
is-
fee and a plan.
Yeah.
It's
think it is
not
what
out
it
of the
is,
ordinary.
right.
Okay, I don't want to overly burden them, but if
If they're gonna add that amount of seating to
then
the,
presumably they're gonna make a little dough on
they're
it.
gonna make a little dough on it, so I think it's not that.
Okay. I'm good with
What
that.
if we
Just,
cut it in half? What if we, because of this,
should we?
nature of this, could we make it, parking really, or issues related to outdoor dining, have a half price special on the special permit?
I mean, I don't,
maybe
I mean,
we
in
don't
my
need to.
opinion,
Well,
it's probably no.
Do we have, as a board, the authority to waive these fees?
Yeah, you've waived, you've reduced in the past.
We have,
And
so,
and a lot of times they've come in and pleaded their case in front of us,
Yeah.
and at that point, we
Yes.
take and decide what
That's
we're
right.
gonna do.
and I agree with that.
And I think it's,
yeah,
this is.
yeah, I think that'd be the
Instead
best
of
way to
rewriting
do
the
it.
wheel and trying to do things different.
Okay,
Yeah.
then I'm with
I
Henry.
mean, I can think of several places that outdoor seating would be great in town.
Yeah.
I can also think of adding more seating in a few places that would be really
Wouldn't-
bad in town.
Yes,
Well, I think it comes down to the fire
we've
department.
eaten at them all.
Right?
Was the
Definitely
fire
part of it,
department.
yep.
The fire department would be the biggest thing, I would think.
Well, I think
They've
it's all,
got
but
Crash
all,
fencing, it's all comes with that special permit that they have to take.
all
in.
departments kind of look the other way or has been relaxed, right? to
During
allow-
the governor's state of emergency, outdoor seating was given kind of exemptions.
Yeah. So
Yes.
with what Henry said, you do case by case.
Which is the way we were handling
Yeah.
it before COVID.
Does anybody else have anything
No, I
different? or is
think-
No, I
everyone
agree
agree?
with Henry.
Understanding that, for example, we could waive or reduce fees if we wished in a given case, then going case by case, I think makes perfectly good sense.
Okay.
Sounds to me.
Everyone else okay with that? Yeah?
Yep.
All right. Okay, thank you.
I guess I have one more question, which is do we consider in this the increased seat capacity causing an increase in sewer or water? Or is that not a factor?
It would be,
Yeah.
because as part of increasing seating capacity, they also have to go to the Board of Selectmen to amend their common vic license. And so other departments weigh in.
And
So,
that's another reason to take it case by case
right.
basis.
Yeah,
It's just,
Said.
yeah.
Okay, there we go.
okay.
Deidre, you all right with that as well? Going case by case with the rest of us?
did we lose it?
I think she's in Ohio.
All right, so that's it.
West of Worcester?
Yeah.
She said yes. Okay. I think that is it, Evan, or we're going to do the minutes next
Yeah,
meeting?
That's it, yep.
I have one more
Plans-
thing.
Hey, I was gonna beat you to it.
Mission, motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.